What is going on, Bucks fans and CFP fans? Evan Wanish here, back at you with yet another video talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And today we're going to be going over the best and the worst from the Buccaneers' shocking Week 14 loss against the New Orleans Saints, 24-20. Coming into this game, New Orleans was a 2-win football team. 2 wins the Saints had coming into this game, and look, the Bucs had a game at home, right? It was a divisional game at home, and they just came out flat. And the Saints scored almost immediately. The Bucs answered back, and then the rain came, and that sort of threw everything through a loop. And then the second half, the Bucs defense really got worn down by this New Orleans offense, and the Bucs offense themselves couldn't really get it together on third and fourth down, and that was sort of the story. So now the Buccaneers are sitting at 7-6, and instead of having a real opportunity to continue to control their own destiny, now things get a little more complicated. But with that being said, let's get right into the best and the worst. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I have one guy on the best list, and then we're going to focus on the worst, because when you lose at home to a 2-win football team late in the year, when you're trying to win the division, you don't really deserve many players to be on the best list. I'm going to mention Chase McLaughlin, though, because he was the one guy that consistently went out and did his job. He made all of his kicks in this one. Chase McLaughlin, despite, some early season hiccups, has really sort of, managed to settle down and everything. And it's been really good this year so far. So despite the conditions, which obviously the conditions are not ideal, it was pouring down rain for a lot of the game. It affected, obviously, both offenses, but Chase McLaughlin still was able to get the job done. And like I said, he was one of the only guys that did the job, basically. But let's get right into the worst. And look, I could just say the entire team, right? I mean, that would be that simple. But let's break it down a little bit further here. We're going to talk about Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield wasn't terrible on Sunday, because he actually started off good, right? Like I mentioned, the offense started off good. They did. They took their first drive and they took it for a touchdown. Baker threw a pass to Bucky Irving. Irving made a couple guys miss and found his way into the end zone. Baker, I believe, started 8 for 8, and then after that, it went downhill. The rain came, and it seemed like they never got comfortable. And Baker just was not accurate with the football. When he was accurate with the football, it seemed like the Mecca Buka drop came, and just the Bucs offense and Baker Mayfield just could not get anything going. A questionable decision on Baker Mayfield's interception there. I will say, though, that Cam Johnson did appear, and I don't know the exact route it's supposed to be, but it did appear that Cam Johnson sort of stopped on the route. I think obviously Mayfield's expecting him to keep cutting that inside. Cam Johnson stops, and it's thrown right to the defender, basically. But not the best decision by Mayfield anyway. Definitely not the game you wanted out of Baker. After I thought he was decent against Arizona, this is not the game that you were looking for in a game that mattered, right? I mean, it simply did matter. It was all right there in front for the Bucs, right? And like I said, it's a divisional game at home when you're trying to win your division. And they came up short. And that falls on the team, but that falls on the quarterback as well, right? Baker Mayfield is going to get a lot of the praise when the Bucs win, but he's going to get a lot of the blame when the Bucs lose. That's just how it is. And there are some times where, the Bucs lose, and it's not really Mayfield's fault, but this wasn't one of these times. The offense consistently did not get things together on third and fourth down. Mayfield could not hit open targets when he needed to. There was a couple times there was guys open and he just missed them, regardless of the weather. I mean, look, the other team plays in the same weather. It's not like it only rains and pours, when you're on the field, and when the other team's on the field, it's sunny. So you have to deal with it. And Mayfield just wasn't really able to do that outside of that first drive or two in this game. So unfortunately for Baker, he ends up on the worst list. He can bounce back, though. I mean, I'm not saying he can't, but hopefully he can, because the Bucs need him to be better. I mean, they just simply do. Now we're going to move on to the defensive side of the ball, and this is where we're going to have some bigger issues. And again, I kind of want to say the whole defense, honestly, because it was every level was an issue. There was a couple times where the Bucs did get pressure up front. They didn't really blitz a whole lot in this game. They got some pressure up front, but it wasn't as consistent enough. But then there was one play in the fourth quarter where Anthony Nelson Logan Hall and Vita Vea all missed Tyler Shuck, rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck. He evades them, rolls out, and runs about 16, 17 yards into the end zone for a touchdown, giving New Orleans the lead. It ended up being the game winner, essentially, because New Orleans took the lead and never gave it up again. That can't happen. That is simply inexcusable by this defensive line. That cannot happen under any circumstances. Any circumstances can't happen. The linebackers, Levante David, there was a 3rd and 8. They chucked it down to Devin Neal. Levante David's there for the tackle, misses the tackle. Devin Neal runs for probably 11 or 12 yards, gets the first down. Cannot happen. Can't happen. Servassier Dennis, the middle of the field, was wide open for the Saints a lot of the time in this ball game, consistently. And that's a Servassier Dennis issue. That's been the issue the entire season with Servassier Dennis, and it reared its ugly head in this one. So the Bucs linebackers were not great. Bucs corners, I mean, they weren't challenged a ton in this game because of the conditions, but when they weren't great. I mean, there was a few times, Josiah McCollum got beat early by Chris Olave. It was just a little bit of an off throw there, but he got beat early. He ended up coming up with an interception, but it was thrown right to him. Jacob Parrish got beat a couple times. It's just, again, just the entire defense, whether it was tackling, whether it was coverage, it wasn't good enough. It simply was not good enough against a bad offense. That is a bad New Orleans Saints offense. And they made them look pretty competent out there. And the Bucs defense looked like they would rather be anywhere else, pretty much. So not what you want to see when you're trying to fight for a playoff spot there. Not exactly what you want to see out of your defense. And now we're going to move on to the big one, right? The elephant in the room that I think most people are going to want to talk about after this loss. And on the worst list, it's his coaching staff. It falls directly on Todd Bowles. Obviously, Bowles is not out there having 3 guys miss a tackle, right? Like, you're in the NFL, make the tackle. That's not Bowles' fault. It's not Bowles' fault that Emeka Egbuka dropped the ball in the end zone. It's not Bowles' fault when Baker Mayfield, doesn't hit a pass that he probably should hit. None of that's Bowles' fault. However, this is now the sort of the second straight week where the Bucs are at home and they're playing an inferior opponent, and they just look unprepared to start the football game. And really, the only reason the Cardinals didn't score anything last week on their opening drive was because of that lucky turnover that the Bucs got. Otherwise, they're getting at least a field goal, maybe a touchdown out of that. It's consistently happening where the Bucs look unprepared to start games, whether it's against a good opponent or a bad opponent. But when it's a bad opponent, it's magnified even more. A lot of people during the 3-game losing streak that the Bucs had earlier this season, including myself, were like, yeah, like, it's not good. Obviously, losing 3 games in a row is not good. However, it's not like they're losing to scrub teams, right? They're not losing to the bottom of the barrel. It was New England. It was Buffalo. It was the Rams. Like, those are some really, really good teams with really, really good offenses and really good quarterbacks. But you barely beat the Cardinals. And I explained, the Cardinals have played a lot of close games. Like, okay, not every game's going to be a blowout, whatever. But you had an opportunity to ease a lot of tension and worries, I think, in the fan base. Just go out and win, right? Win on Sunday against the Saints. And not only did you not win, as far as blowing out the Saints, right? And I understand this is the NFL. But not only did you not blow them out, it's not like, it was close, but they won. You lost the game. And that falls, ultimately, it is going to fall on the head coach, especially when the head coach is a defensive-minded guy. And I just talked about the defense and how disappointing that defense was on Sunday. And it's been disappointing for quite a long time now. During that 3-game losing streak, it was a big issue for the Bucs. And if things don't turn around soon, time will be ticking for Todd Bowles. Like, it will be. And they have some time. And again, they still have it in front of them. They still have a favorable schedule, but how can you trust that this team is going to be able to turn it around right now? It's pretty hard. It is pretty hard to envision them turning it around and all of a sudden going on a run to even make the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game. So Todd Bowles, Is it all his fault? Is it all Josh Grizzard's fault? No, it's not. However, they both have to share some blame, right? The offense sometimes lacks creativity. It looks stagnant. I understand there's some weapons missing. I understand the weather on Sunday was not great, but you got to work with what you got. And too often, Josh Grizzard and the Bucs offense just can't get the job done. And also too often, Todd Bowles' defense comes up short. And eventually the message is going to wear thin. And you just wonder if, losing these games that you're supposed to be winning, that could be something that, the straw that breaks the camel's back, basically. So we'll have to wait and see what the future holds. Again, there's a lot of football left to be played, but we will have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think about the Buccaneers' loss to the Saints. I'm sure the comment sections will be interesting in this one, but always curious to hear what you guys think. But let me know who your best and your worst was in this game as well. Always curious to hear them. But thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and go Bucs.